Zara's hand froze on the bathroom door handle when she heard Min-jun enter the honeymoon suite, his footsteps deliberate and controlled against the marble floor, the walk of a man who'd learned long ago that every movement was a statement of power. She pressed her forehead against the cool wood, her wedding dress suddenly suffocating despite the expert tailoring, and whispered the prayer her grandmother had taught her for moments of absolute terror. Before we continue with the story, please drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I can hear you breathing, Min-jun said from the other side, his English accented but clear. You've been in there for 40 minutes. I need more time. Her voice cracked embarrassingly on the last word. Time for what? We're married now, this is our wedding night. A pause, then softer. Zara, open the door. It wasn't a request. With trembling fingers, she unlocked it and stepped back as it swung open, revealing him silhouetted against the floor-to-ceiling windows of their penthouse suite. Seoul glittered behind him like a constellation had fallen to earth, beautiful, alien, and completely overwhelming. Min-jun had removed his suit jacket and loosened his tie. The white dress shirt stretched across shoulders that seemed impossibly broad, and when he stepped into the bathroom's light, Zara saw the scar that bisected his left eyebrow, the one she'd noticed during the ceremony but had been too nervous to ask about. You changed, he observed, his dark eyes traveling over her cotton nightgown. That's modest. Is that a problem? She lifted her chin, trying for defiance and achieving something closer to desperation. No, he moved closer, and she instinctively backed up until her spine hit the marble vanity. His jaw tightened. You're afraid of me. Shouldn't I be? The words tumbled out before she could stop them. Everyone keeps calling you the Ice Prince of Gangnam. Your own mother warned me during the reception that you have a temper, and my cousins spent an hour before the ceremony telling me stories about what the Kim family does to people who cross them. Your cousin talks too much. Min-jun stopped just outside arm's reach, but even that distance felt insufficient. What else did she tell you? That you're dangerous, that you've killed people, that your family controls half the underground businesses in Seoul, and that this marriage is just a way for them to expand into international markets through my father's connections. Zara's hands gripped the vanity behind her. Is any of that untrue? He was silent for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then, no, it's all true. The blunt admission hit her like a physical blow. She'd been hopping for denial, for some explanation that would make this all make sense. Instead, she got confirmation that she'd married exactly what everyone warned her about. Then you understand why I'm terrified, she whispered. I understand, but I need you to understand something too. Min-jun reached out slowly, giving her time to flinch away if she wanted, and tilted her chin up with one finger until she had no choice but to meet his eyes. I'm dangerous to my enemies. I have killed, yes, but never without reason. My family's business is what it is, but you, Zara, you're my wife now. That means you're untouchable. Anyone who harms you answers to me. That includes me. What does that mean? He dropped his hand and stepped back, creating space she hadn't asked for but desperately needed. It means I won't force you into anything. Not tonight. Not any night. But this is our wedding night. Your family expects. My family expects a lot of things. They'll get most of them. He moved back into the bedroom, and after a moment's hesitation, she followed. Min-jun was pouring amber liquid into 2 crystal glasses at the bar. But not this. Not until you're ready. And if I'm never ready? His hand paused mid-pour just for a second before he continued. Then we figure something else out. Here. He held out one of the glasses. It's whiskey, single malt, aged 20 years. It'll help with the nerves. Zara took it automatically, her fingers brushing his. The contact sent an unexpected jolt through her, not fear this time, but something else she couldn't quite name. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? Someone crueler. Someone who'd. She couldn't finish the sentence, couldn't voice the fears that had plagued her since her father had sat her down 3 months ago and explained that his business partnership with the Kim family came with conditions, and she was the primary condition. Someone who'd take what he wanted without asking. Min-jun finished for her. He downed his whiskey in one smooth motion. I'm a lot of things, Zara. Violent when necessary, ruthless in business. Loyal to my family even when they don't deserve it, but I'm not a rapist. The word hung in the air between them, stark and honest. My father said you needed a wife, Zara said quietly, sinking onto the edge of the massive bed. That the Kim family wanted to appear more legitimate, to expand internationally, and that a marriage alliance would help with that. He said you specifically requested someone educated, someone who could move in both traditional and modern circles. I did. He didn't mention that I'd have a choice in any of this. You didn't. Min-jun poured himself another drink. Your father needed the Kim family's investment to save his company from bankruptcy. My mother needed me married to strengthen international ties and shut down rumors about my personal life. You were the solution to both problems. How romantic, she said bitterly. I never promised you romance. I promised your father I'd provide for you, protect you, and treat you with respect. That's what I'm offering now. He set down his glass and turned to face her fully. I know this isn't what you wanted. You had plans, graduate school in London, a career in international finance, a life you chose for yourself. I took that away from you. Zara's head snapped up. How do you know about London? I make it my business to know everything about my wife. You were accepted to the London School of Economics, full scholarship. You deferred for a year because your father asked you to help with the business, and then, he shrugged, then he made other arrangements for your future. You mean then he sold me to save himself, she said, the words sharp and painful. Yes. Again, that brutal honesty. No comforting lies, no pretty euphemisms, just the truth, laid out like evidence in a trial. I hate him for it, Zara whispered. I hate that I'm here. I hate that I married a stranger. I hate that my entire life got decided by men in business meetings, like I'm a commodity instead of a person. You have every right to hate it, to hate me. Min-jun moved to the windows, staring out at the Seoul skyline. But you're here now, and we're married, so we can make this tolerable or we can make it unbearable. Your choice. My choice. I haven't had a choice in months. He turned, and for the first time she saw something crack in that perfect control, a flash of frustration or maybe anger. Then here's a choice. LSE still has your application on file. The program doesn't start for another 6 months. You could go. Zara stood, confused. What are you talking about? I'm talking about giving you something that's yours, something that has nothing to do with this marriage or my family or your father's business deals. He pulled an envelope from the desk drawer and held it out. Acceptance letter, reinstated scholarship, housing arranged near campus. You'd come back to Seoul periodically for appearances, for family obligations, but otherwise you'd have your life, your education, your freedom. She took the envelope with shaking hands, unable to believe what she was reading. Why would you do this? Your family expects me here, playing the dutiful wife. My family expects a lot of things. I'm very good at managing their expectations. Min-jun's expression softened almost imperceptibly. And maybe I don't want a wife who resents me so much she can't stand to be in the same room. Maybe I'd rather you have a reason to come back that isn't just obligation. I don't understand you, Zara said, clutching the letter. Everyone says you're ruthless and cold, that you don't care about anyone outside your immediate family, but you're offering me an escape route on our wedding night. Not an escape route, an option, there's a difference. He finished his second drink. I need a wife for certain functions, family dinners, business events, public appearances, but I don't need you to sacrifice your entire life for that. We can find a balance. And what do you get out of this arrangement? A wife who might not hate me eventually. Peace from my mother's matchmaking, international legitimacy for the family business. He paused. And maybe, if I'm lucky, someone who understands that I'm more than the rumors. Are you? I don't know yet, he said honestly, but I'd like the chance to find out, with you. Zara sat back down on the bed, the acceptance letter still in her hands. This wasn't at all how she'd imagined tonight going. She'd expected force or coercion, not options and honesty. She'd expected a monster, not this complicated man who somehow knew about her dreams and had taken steps to make them possible. Earlier, she said quietly, When you first came into the bathroom and I saw you properly for the first time, I said something. Minjun tensed. I remember. I said, that's too big. Her cheeks heated with embarrassment. I meant everything. This situation, this marriage, being here in Seoul with a stranger, all of it felt too big, too overwhelming, too much for me to handle. I know what you meant. But you thought I meant. She gestured vaguely, unable to finish the sentence. A hint of amusement flickered across his face, the first genuine expression she'd seen from him all day. I understood the dual meaning, yes. And you said you'd be gentle. I meant it about everything. He moved toward the bedroom door. I'll sleep in the guest room tonight. Tomorrow we have breakfast with my family at 9. You'll need to play the happy bride. After that, you have the day to yourself. I've arranged for a driver who speaks English, and there's a credit card in your name with no limit. You can't just buy my cooperation. I'm not trying to. I'm trying to make an impossible situation livable. Minjun paused at the door. Get some sleep, Zara. You look exhausted. Wait, she stood, surprising herself. You don't have to sleep in another room. The bed is. It's enormous. We could share it without. I mean, if you stay on your side. He studied her for a long moment. Are you sure? No, but you're my husband, and I suppose we should get used to each other eventually. She clutched the LSE letter tighter. And you did give me this. It's only fair. Fairness has nothing to do with where I sleep, Minjun said, but there was warmth in his voice now. But if you're offering, I accept. I'll take the left side. How did you know I prefer the right? Your father mentioned you're particular about your sleeping arrangements, something about needing to face the door. That almost smile again. I told you, I make it my business to know everything about my wife. As Minjun disappeared into the bathroom, Zara changed out of her nightgown into more comfortable silk pajamas, her mind racing. This wasn't the wedding night she'd feared. It wasn't the wedding night she'd once dreamed of either, no passionate declarations or tender intimacy. Instead, it was something stranger and more complex, a negotiation between two people trying to find humanity in an arrangement that had stripped away their choices. When he emerged, wearing simple black sleep pants and a t-shirt that revealed arms marked with scars and tattoos she hadn't noticed before, Zara was already under the covers on her side of the bed, the LSE letter on her nightstand like a talisman. Minjun settled on his side, careful to maintain distance, and turned off the lamp. In the darkness, with only Seoul's lights filtering through the windows, Zara whispered, "Thank you for the letter, for tonight, for not being what I expected." "Don't thank me yet," he replied quietly. "You haven't seen the worst of me." "Will I?" "Eventually, I'm good at control, but I'm not perfect." A pause. "When it happens, I hope you'll remember tonight. Remember that I tried." She wanted to ask what he meant, what darkness he was warning her about, but exhaustion was finally catching up with her. Instead, she closed her eyes and tried to reconcile the man lying beside her with all the stories she'd heard, the ice prince, the killer, the gangster. Her husband. As she drifted toward sleep, she heard him murmur something in Korean, soft and almost tender. She'd have to learn the language, she realized. Have to understand him in his own words, not just through translation. Tomorrow she'd start navigating this new life. Tomorrow she'd figure out how to be Mrs. Kim without losing Zara entirely. But tonight, she'd take this small miracle, a monster who'd offered her freedom and a choice, even when he didn't have to. Maybe there was hope for them yet. Zara woke to find Minjun's side of the bed empty and perfectly made, as if he'd never been there at all. Sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, and she squinted against it, disoriented. For a blessed moment, she forgot where she was. Then reality crashed back, Seoul, the penthouse, the marriage, and she pressed her face into the pillow with a groan. "You're awake, good." Minjun's voice came from across the room. "We have an hour before breakfast." She sat up, clutching the silk sheets to her chest even though she was fully clothed. He was already dressed in tailored slacks and a crisp white shirt, his hair styled perfectly. He looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine spread, all sharp lines and calculated elegance. "How long have you been up?" she asked, her voice rough with sleep. Since 5, I don't sleep much. He was doing something on his phone, his fingers moving rapidly across the screen. There's coffee on the cart by the window. Breakfast too, if you're hungry. We'll be eating again with my family, but my mother serves traditional Korean food, and I wasn't sure if your stomach could handle it this early. Zara climbed out of bed, suddenly aware of how rumpled she must look compared to his perfection. That was thoughtful. Don't sound so surprised. I can be thoughtful when it suits me. He finally looked up from his phone and something flickered in his expression. You should wear the cream dress. Second closet from the left. Conservative but expensive. My mother will approve. I brought my own clothes, she said, a little defensively. And they're lovely, but today isn't about what you want to wear. It's about what my family needs to see. His tone wasn't unkind, just matter of fact. You're a Kim now, that comes with expectations. She wanted to argue, to assert some independence, but the exhaustion of fighting everything was already setting in, and it had only been one night. Instead, she poured herself coffee, perfectly prepared with cream and 2 sugars, exactly how she liked it, which meant he'd been paying attention to details she didn't even realize he'd noticed, and moved to the window. Seoul in daylight was different from the glittering nightscape of yesterday. The city sprawled out in organized chaos, modern skyscrapers standing beside traditional architecture, a visual representation of the collision between old and new that seemed to define everything here. It's beautiful, she said softly. It's suffocating. Min-jun joined her at the window, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and woody. Sometimes I think about leaving, just disappearing to somewhere the Kim name means nothing. Why don't you? Because running isn't freedom. It's just a different kind of cage. He set his phone down. And because my family would hunt me down and drag me back. They've invested too much in making me who I am to let me walk away. There was something in his voice, a resignation that felt deeper than his years. Zara turned to study his profile. In the morning light, she could see faint circles under his eyes, the tension in his jaw, the way his shoulders never quite relaxed. How old are you? She asked suddenly. 32. Why? You seem older, like you're carrying decades instead of years. His lips quirked in something that wasn't quite a smile. Perceptive, I like that. He checked his watch, something platinum and understated that probably cost more than her father's car. 45 minutes now. You should get ready. And Zara. Yes. At breakfast, don't correct my mother if she says something wrong about you. Don't disagree with my father about anything. And if my older brother Jai-Hoon makes inappropriate comments, which he will, just smile and ignore him. Min-jun's expression hardened. I'll handle him later. Sounds delightful, she muttered. It's not meant to be delightful, it's meant to be survived. He headed toward the door, then paused. And one more thing. When we're with my family, you need to act like you're happy to be married to me. Can you do that? I'm a terrible actress. Then you'll have to learn quickly. My family is very good at spotting weakness, and right now, you're the newest and most vulnerable member of this organization. They'll test you. His eyes held hers. Don't let them see you break. After he left, Zara stood frozen for a moment, the weight of what she'd married into settling more heavily on her shoulders. This wasn't just about being a wife. It was about being part of something bigger and darker, a criminal empire masquerading as a legitimate business family. She found the cream dress exactly where he'd said it would be. It was beautiful, expensive fabric, perfect tailoring, conservative cut that somehow still managed to be elegant. When she put it on, she barely recognized herself in the mirror. She looked like someone who belonged in this world of wealth and power. She looked like Mrs. Kim Min-jun. The thought made her stomach twist. The Kim family estate was a sprawling compound in Gangnam, all traditional architecture hiding ultra-modern security. Zara counted at least 6 cameras on their drive-up, and the men stationed at the gate had the unmistakable bearing of people trained to kill. Don't stare at the security, Min-jun said quietly as their car pulled up to the main house. And remember, smile, agree, endure. His hand found hers as they walked up the stone path, and the touch was warm and steadying despite being completely for show. She forced herself to lean into him slightly, playing the role of devoted new bride. The moment they entered the dining room, Zara understood what Min Jun had been preparing her for. The Kim family matriarch sat at the head of the table like a queen holding court. Mrs. Kim was probably in her early 60s, but she'd clearly had work done. Her face was smooth and ageless, her hair perfectly styled, her hanbok a masterpiece of traditional embroidery. Her eyes, sharp and assessing, locked onto Zara immediately. "So this is the bride," she said in Korean. Min Jun translated quietly. "Mother, you remember Zara. We met yesterday at the ceremony." Min Jun's voice was carefully neutral. "Of course I remember. I'm not senile." Mrs. Kim switched to heavily accented English. "Come here, girl. Let me look at you properly." Zara approached, acutely aware of everyone watching her. Min Jun's father sat to his wife's right, a stern man with silver hair and cold eyes who hadn't even glanced up from his newspaper. And across the table lounged someone who had to be Jae-hoon, Min Jun's older brother. He was handsome in a dissolute way, his suit expensive but wrinkled, his smile predatory. "You're darker than your pictures," Mrs. Kim said bluntly, reaching out to touch Zara's arm. "Mother," Min Jun's voice carried a warning. "What? I'm just observing. She's very exotic looking." Mrs. Kim circled Zara like she was examining livestock. "Can you have children? Did the doctors check?" Heat flooded Zara's face. She's perfectly healthy," Min Jun interrupted, his hand finding the small of Zara's back. "And I'd appreciate it if you didn't interrogate my wife about her reproductive system at breakfast." "Don't be sensitive. These are practical questions." Mrs. Kim finally released Zara and returned to her seat. "Sit, eat. We have much to discuss." The breakfast was a surreal experience. Traditional Korean dishes that Zara had no idea how to eat properly, conversation that switched between Korean and English, seemingly designed to keep her off balance, and Jae-hoon's eyes on her throughout, making her skin crawl. "So Zara," Jae-hoon said, his English much better than his mother's. "How does it feel to marry into the Kim family? Excited, terrified, both?" "I'm honored," she said carefully, the lie bitter on her tongue. "Honored? How diplomatic." He leaned back in his chair. "Little brother always did have good taste, though I'm surprised he went for someone so different." "Different how?" Min Jun's voice was dangerously quiet. "Just different, exotic, not what we usually see in our circles." Jae-hoon's smile was all teeth. "I'm sure she'll adjust, though, eventually." Under the table, Min Jun's hand found Zara's and squeezed. Whether in support or warning, she wasn't sure. His father finally looked up from his newspaper, his gaze settling on Zara with the warmth of a snake examining prey. "Your father tells me you studied finance," he said in perfect English. "Yes, sir. International finance and economics." "Good, you'll be useful then. The Kim Group is expanding into African markets. Your connections will help smooth the way." It wasn't a request or a question. It was a statement of fact. Zara felt something cold settle in her stomach. So this was it, the real reason for the marriage. Not just legitimacy or international ties, but access to her father's business network, to markets the Kim family wanted to infiltrate. "Of course," she heard herself say, "whatever I can do to help." "Excellent." Mr. Kim returned to his newspaper. "Min Jun, you'll bring her to the office next week. Introduce her to the international division. Get her started on the Africa project." "Father," Zara is still adjusting. "She's a Kim now. Kim's work, or are you saying your wife is useless?" The challenge hung in the air. Zara saw Min Jun's jaw clench, saw the muscle tick in his cheek that she was learning meant he was controlling his temper. "Of course not. Zara will be a valuable asset to the family." He stood abruptly. "If you'll excuse us, we have other appointments this morning." Mrs. Kim's eyes narrowed. "You just arrived." "And we've fulfilled our obligation. Breakfast with the family, as requested. Now my wife and I have our own schedule to keep." Min Jun helped Zara to her feet, his touch gentle despite the tension radiating from him. We'll see you at dinner next week." They were in the car and down the driveway before anyone could protest. The moment they were through the gates, Min-jun's perfect composure cracked. "I'm sorry," he said tersely. "That was worse than I expected. Your mother touched me like I was livestock. Your brother looked at me like I was a meal, and your father basically told me I was purchased for business purposes." Zara's voice shook. "What exactly were you expecting?" I know, but usually they're more subtle about it." He ran a hand through his perfectly styled hair, destroying it. Jaehoon especially. He's usually better at hiding his nature in front of guests. "I'm not a guest. I'm family now, remember." Maybe he figured he didn't have to pretend. Min-jun was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was low and dangerous. "He won't look at you like that again." "What are you going to do?" "Have a conversation with my brother, clarify some boundaries." The way he said it made clear that conversation was a euphemism for something much more violent. "Don't," Zara said suddenly. "Don't fight with your family over me. It'll just make everything harder. You're my wife. That means something even in a marriage like ours." He looked at her, really looked at her, and she saw genuine anger there, not at her, but for her. "No one disrespects you without consequences. Not my brother, not anyone." Something in her chest tightened at the fierce protectiveness in his voice. This complicated, dangerous man, who'd been a stranger yesterday, was ready to go to war with his own family over her dignity. "Where are we going now?" she asked, partly to change the subject. "Wherever you want. The day is yours, remember." His phone buzzed, and he glanced at it with a frown. "Though I have some business to handle this afternoon. You could come with me, or the driver can take you shopping or back to the penthouse." "What kind of business?" "The kind you probably don't want to know about." "Try me." Min-jun studied her face, as if trying to determine how much truth she could handle. Finally, he said, "A club owner in Itaewon is 3 months behind on his protection payments. I need to remind him of the terms of our arrangement." "You mean threaten him?" "I mean have a conversation about honoring agreements." His expression was unreadable. "This is what I do, Zara. This is who I am. If you come with me, you'll see exactly what kind of man you married." She should have said no, should have taken the easy way out, spent the day shopping or exploring Seoul, maintained her willful ignorance about her husband's life. But something in her, curiosity or defiance or maybe just exhaustion with pretending, made her say, "I'll come with you." Surprise flickered across his face. "You're sure?" "No, but I'm tired of only seeing the version of you that you think I can handle. If I'm married to a gangster, I might as well understand what that actually means." Min-jun was quiet for a long moment, then spoke to the driver in rapid Korean. The car changed direction, heading toward Itaewon. "You might regret this," he warned. "I already regret most of my life choices lately. What's one more?" She turned to look out the window, watching Seoul stream past. "Besides, you said I needed to learn to survive in your world. Might as well start now." His hand found hers again, but this time there was no audience, no performance required. This time it felt almost real. "For what it's worth," Min-jun said quietly, "I'm glad you're here. Even if the circumstances are terrible, even if my family is awful, I'm glad it's you." Zara didn't know how to respond to that, so she simply held his hand and watched the city pass by, wondering what exactly she was about to witness, and whether she'd still be able to look at her husband the same way afterward. The club in Itaewon looked different in daylight, shabby and tired, its neon signs dull against the afternoon sun. Zara noticed the way people on the street crossed to the other side when they saw Min-jun's car pull up, the way they averted their eyes and quickened their pace. Fear, they were afraid of him. "Last chance to wait in the car," Min-jun said, but he was already unbuttoning his cuffs and rolling up his sleeves. The movement revealed more of those tattoos she'd glimpsed last night, intricate designs that looked traditional, possibly Yakuza-inspired. "I'm coming." He studied her face for a moment, then nodded. "Stay behind me. Don't speak unless I tell you to, and whatever you see in there, remember that I warned you." Two men were waiting at the club's entrance, the same type of hard-faced security she'd seen at the Kim estate. They bowed deeply when they saw Min-jun, murmuring respectful greetings in Korean. One of them opened the door. Inside, the club smelled of stale alcohol and cigarette smoke. The lights were up, revealing stained carpets and cracked leather booths. A man sat at the bar, middle-aged, sweating despite the air conditioning, his hands trembling as he lifted a glass of whiskey. "Mr. Park," Min-jun said pleasantly, switching to English presumably for Zara's benefit. "Thank you for meeting with me." "I didn't have much choice, did I?" Park's voice was hoarse. His eyes darted to Zara, confused. "Who's she?" "My wife. She's observing today." Min-jun settled onto a bar stool with casual grace, but Zara noticed how his men had positioned themselves at the exits. "So, 3 months, Mr. Park. 3 months of missed payments. That's not how our arrangement works." Business has been slow. The new regulations, the competition from the clubs in Gangnam. "I don't recall our agreement having a clause about slow business." Min-jun's voice remained pleasant, but something cold had entered his eyes. "You pay on time, every month, and my family ensures no problems with licensing, no issues with the police, no trouble from rival operations. That was the deal." I know, I just need more time. Another month, maybe 2. "You've had 3 months of extra time already." Min-jun accepted a glass of water from one of his men. "That's 3 months of my family's protection that you haven't paid for. 3 months of licenses that somehow didn't get revoked despite your numerous code violations. 3 months of your competitors mysteriously having problems that kept them from poaching your customers." Park's face had gone pale. "I didn't realize." "That's the problem, Mr. Park. You didn't realize. You thought maybe the Kim family had forgotten about you, that we had bigger fish to catch." Min-jun set down his glass with a soft click that somehow sounded louder than a shout. "Let me help you realize something." He stood and walked behind the bar with the familiarity of someone who'd done this before. From beneath the counter, he pulled out what looked like the club's financial records. Someone had clearly retrieved them earlier. "Your revenue is actually up 15% over last year," Min-jun said, flipping through the ledger. "You're not having trouble paying me because business is slow. You're having trouble because you've been skimming, putting money aside, probably planning to disappear and start over somewhere else." "No, I wouldn't." "Please don't insult my intelligence." The pleasant mask had completely dropped now. Min-jun's voice was ice. "I have copies of your bank records, 2 accounts in your wife's name, another under your daughter's name at university in Busan. You've moved over 200 million won in the past 4 months. Park looked like he might vomit. Zara's stomach twisted. She'd wanted to see Min-jun's real world, but watching it unfold was different from imagining it. "I have a family," Park whispered. "I just wanted to secure their future." "Everyone has a family, Mr. Park. That's not an excuse to steal from mine." Min-jun walked around the bar slowly, deliberately. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to transfer everyone from those hidden accounts back into the club's operating account. Today, right now, actually. Then you're going to pay what you owe all 3 months, plus a 20% late fee." "I can't. That's everything I've saved." "Should have thought about that before you decided to steal." Min-jun's phone appeared in his hand. "I'm calling my accountant. He'll walk you through the transfers. You have 30 minutes. "And if I refuse?" The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Min-jun's men shifted positions slightly, and Zara realized they were moving closer to Park, cutting off any escape routes. "If you refuse, this club burns down tonight. Insurance won't cover it because somehow all your paperwork will be mysteriously lost. Your wife loses her job at the hospital because the Kim family happens to sit on the board of directors. Your daughter loses her university scholarship because we also have connections there." Min-jun's voice never rose above conversational level, but every word landed like a hammer blow. "And you, Mr. Park, will discover that Seoul is a very small city when the Kim family decides you're no longer welcome in it." Park was crying now, silent tears streaming down his face. "You're a monster." "No, I'm a businessman who expects his agreements to be honored." Min-jun held out his phone. 29 minutes now. I suggest you start making transfers." Zara watched, frozen, as Park took the phone with shaking hands and began the process of dismantling his carefully hidden nest egg. Minjun settled back onto his bar stool, his posture relaxed, as if he was simply waiting for a coffee order rather than systematically destroying a man's life. After what felt like hours but was probably only 20 minutes, Park handed the phone back. "It's done, all of it." Minjun verified the transfers, his face impassive. "Good, see how easy that was when you cooperate." He stood and straightened his sleeves. "From now on, payments are due on the 1st of each month. Not the 2nd, not the 5th, the 1st. And Mr. Park, if you're ever late again, we're not having another conversation. We're just taking the club. Understood?" "Yes," Park whispered. "Yes, what?" "Yes, Mr. Kim." "Better." Minjun headed toward the door, pausing to place a hand on Park's shoulder. The man flinched. "And Mr. Park, I know you're thinking about going to the police right now, about telling them everything, about trying to take down the Kim family. Let me save you the trouble. Half the police department is on my family's payroll. The other half knows better than to cross us. So please be smart, take care of your family, run your club, pay your debts, and we'll never have to see each other again." Outside, the afternoon sun felt obscene after the darkness of the club. Zara's hands were shaking, and she pressed them against her thighs to hide it. Minjun opened the car door for her but didn't get in immediately. "You're very quiet." "What do you want me to say?" Her voice came out harsher than intended. "That was horrific. That was business. You destroyed that man. His savings, his security, his hope for the future." "He stole from my family," Minjun interrupted, his voice hard. "In our world that has consequences, I could have done much worse. I could have broken his fingers, burned his club, hurt his family. Instead, I took back what was owed and left him with a functioning business and intact kneecaps. In my world, Zara, that's mercy." "Mercy," she repeated bitterly. "Is that what you call it?" "Yes." He finally looked at her, really looked at her. "You wanted to see who I am. This is who I am. Not the polite husband who brings you coffee how you like it. Not the man who got you into LSC. This is the real Minjun Kim, the one who collects debts and threatens families and runs protection rackets across Seoul." Zara's eyes stung with tears she refused to let fall. "And you feel nothing about it? No guilt, no remorse?" "I feel lots of things, but guilt and remorse don't survive long in this business." He got into the car beside her, and suddenly the space felt too small. "Park knew the rules when he made his deal with my family. He chose to break those rules. Actions have consequences." "Like our marriage," she said quietly. "My father made a deal with your family. He broke his end of it, and I'm the consequence." Minjun's jaw tightened. "That's different." "Is it? You're still collecting what's owed to your family. I'm just a different form of payment." "You're not." He stopped, seeming to struggle with words. "I don't see you as payment for your father's debt." "Then what am I?" "I don't know yet," he admitted, "but you're not that." They rode in silence for several minutes, the city passing by in a blur of color and motion. Zara's mind kept replaying the scene in the club, Park's tears, Minjun's cold efficiency, the casual way he'd threatened to destroy everything the man had built. "Take me back to the penthouse," she said finally. "I need to be alone." "Zara." "Please." He gave instructions to the driver in Korean, then turned back to her. "I told you you'd see the worst of me eventually. I just didn't think it would be on day 2. Better now than later, I suppose. At least now I know exactly what I'm dealing with." She kept her eyes on the window. "A man who destroys lives before lunch and doesn't even lose his appetite. That's not fair." "Nothing about this is fair." The words burst out of her, all the emotions she'd been holding back since yesterday finally breaking through. "I'm married to a stranger who terrifies people just by showing up. I'm part of a family that treats me like a business asset. I just watched my husband systematically break another human being, and I'm supposed to what? Smile and play the supportive wife. Pretend this is all normal." "I never asked you to pretend. You asked me to survive, to endure, to act happy at family breakfast." Zara finally turned to face him. "But I don't know how to do that knowing what you're capable of. knowing that the same hands that held mine this morning threatened to destroy a man's entire world this afternoon. Minjun's expression was unreadable. Would you prefer I'd lied, kept you sheltered from reality, let you believe I was just a legitimate businessman? I don't know what I prefer. She was crying now, angry tears that she couldn't control. I don't know anything anymore. 3 days ago I had a life. Now I have this impossible situation where my husband is a criminal and I'm somehow supposed to be okay with it. The car pulled up to their building. Minjun made no move to get out. For what it's worth, he said quietly, I am sorry. Not for who I am or what I do. I can't change that. But I'm sorry that you're caught in the middle of it. That you have to see the ugly parts and live with the knowledge of them. Are there any non-ugly parts? She wiped her eyes angrily. Or is it all threats and violence and ruined lives? There are parts that matter. Family, loyalty, protecting what's yours. He paused. You're mine to protect now, Zara. Whatever else I am, whatever you think of me, that means something. It means no one touches you. No one threatens you. No one makes you feel the way Park felt in that club today. How reassuring, she said bitterly. The monster promises to protect me from other monsters. Yes, he said simply. That's exactly what I'm promising. She got out of the car without another word, her legs unsteady. Minjun followed her into the building, into the elevator, maintaining a careful distance. When they reached the penthouse, she went straight to the bedroom and closed the door. Through the wood, she heard him say, I'll be out this evening. Business, don't wait up. Then silence. Zara sank onto the bed, the same bed they'd shared so carefully last night, and finally let herself fall apart. She cried for her old life, for her lost dreams that even LSE acceptance couldn't fully restore. She cried for Park and his desperate attempt to secure his family's future. She cried for the impossibility of loving a man who could be both gentle and brutal, thoughtful and ruthless. Most of all, she cried because some small, traitorous part of her had been moved by Minjun's promise of protection, had felt something warm in her chest when he'd said she was his. What did it say about her that even after seeing the worst of him, she still couldn't quite bring herself to hate him? Her phone buzzed. A message from Minjun. The LSE application deadline is in 3 weeks. You don't have to decide about anything else right now. Just decide about school. Then another message. I meant what I said. You're mine to protect, even if that means protecting you from me. Zara stared at the messages for a long time, then looked at the LSE acceptance letter still sitting on her nightstand. An escape route. A choice. A piece of her future that belonged only to her. Maybe Minjun was right. Maybe she didn't have to figure out everything about this impossible marriage right now. Maybe she could just take it one decision at a time. Starting with whether to stay in Seoul or run to London. Starting with whether the man she'd married was worth the darkness he carried. Starting with whether she could live with the knowledge of what those careful, gentle hands were capable of doing. Outside, Seoul glittered in the growing dusk, beautiful and dangerous and full of choices she wasn't ready to make. Zara didn't leave the bedroom for 2 days. Minjun had food delivered to the door, always her favorites, though she couldn't remember telling him what those were. Coffee appeared on the nightstand each morning, perfectly prepared. Fresh flowers replaced the wilting ones. He never knocked, never demanded entry, never pushed. But his presence was felt in every small gesture. On the 3rd morning, she found a note slipped under the door with her coffee. The LSE deadline is in 2 weeks. I've arranged for everything you need. Transcripts, recommendations, visa paperwork. All you have to do is say yes. Beneath it, in different handwriting, less controlled, I hope you say yes. That's what finally made her open the door. Minjun was sitting in the living room, his laptop open, but Zara could tell he hadn't been working. His shirt was wrinkled, the first time she'd seen him anything less than perfectly put together. He had dark circles under his eyes. You look terrible, she said. His head snapped up. You're speaking to me. I'm still angry. She moved to the coffee maker, needing something to do with her hands. But I've been thinking. About London. About everything. Zara poured herself a cup, then surprised herself by pouring one for him too. I've been hiding in that room trying to decide if I can live with what you are, with what you do. Minjun stood but kept his distance. And I don't know if I can, but I realize something. I don't have to decide that right now. She handed him the coffee. You were right. I can decide about school first, about having something that's mine, and maybe that gives us both time to figure out the rest. So you're applying. I'm applying. A small smile tugged at her lips. I'm going to London for graduate school. I'm going to have my own life, my own career, my own dreams that have nothing to do with the Kim family or arranged marriages or any of this. Something that looked like relief crossed his face. Good, that's really good, Zara. But I need something from you first. His expression turned wary. What? Honesty, complete honesty. She set down her cup. No more surprises about who you are or what you do. If I'm going to be married to you, even if I'm in London most of the time, I need to know what I'm dealing with, all of it. That could take a while. Then we have 2 weeks before I leave. Start talking. They spent the next 10 days in strange intimacy of confession. Minjun told her things she suspected he'd never told anyone, about growing up in the Kim family, about the first time his father made him watch a debt collection, about the man he'd killed when he was 19, and how he still sometimes dreamed about it. It was self-defense, he said one evening as they sat on the penthouse balcony, souls spread out below them. He came at me with a knife during a territory dispute. It was him or me, but I still see his face sometimes. Do you regret it? Zara asked softly. I regret that it was necessary. I don't regret surviving. He was quiet for a moment. Does that make me a monster? I don't know, she said honestly. I think maybe you're just human. Humans are capable of terrible things when we have to be. In return, she told him about Lagos, about her mother's disappointment when she chose finance over medicine, about the pressure of being the eldest daughter in a family where everyone depended on her success. My father sold me to save face, she said one night over dinner, actual home-cooked dinner that Minjun had insisted on making himself, revealing unexpected skill in the kitchen. Not just to save his business, but because he couldn't admit to his friends and colleagues that he'd failed. I was the price of his pride. I'm sorry, Minjun said, for my part in that, for benefiting from your father's choices. Are you sorry enough to let me go, annul the marriage? He looked at her for a long moment. No, I'm not that sorry. Is that honest enough for you? It should have made her angry. Instead, she found herself almost smiling. Yes, that's honest. They were learning each other, not as husband and wife exactly, but as two people trapped in an impossible situation trying to make it bearable. She learned that he took his coffee black, that he was left-handed, that he played piano beautifully when he thought no one was listening. He learned that she sang in the shower, that she had a weakness for bad American reality TV, that she was brilliant at chess and ruthlessly competitive. You're a sore loser, she teased after beating him for the 3rd time. I don't lose often, he grumbled. It's disorienting. Get used to it. I'm very good at chess. I'm noticing. He reset the board. One more game, winner takes all. Takes all what? His eyes met hers with unexpected intensity. Whatever they want. She won again, of course. But when he asked what she wanted, Zara found herself unable to articulate it. The answer felt too big, too complicated. It involved time and trust and the slow erosion of fear into something else entirely. I'll let you know, she said finally. The night before her flight to London, Minjun took her to dinner at a private restaurant overlooking the Han River. It was the first time they'd been out together since the disastrous family breakfast, and Zara was surprised by how natural it felt. Nervous about tomorrow, he asked over dessert. Terrified, excited, both. She played with her wine glass. It feels surreal. A month ago I was in Lagos thinking my life was over, and now I'm moving to London for graduate school. You deserve it. The school, the opportunity, all of it. Minjun, she hesitated. When I'm in London, what happens to us? What do you want to happen? I don't know. We're married, but we barely know each other. And with me gone most of the year, she trailed off. We take it slow, he said. You come back for holidays for appearances. We talk on the phone, video calls, whatever you're comfortable with, and we see what develops or doesn't. You'd be okay with that, a marriage that's mostly distance. I'd rather have you at a distance than not at all. He reached across the table, his hand stopping just short of hers. And maybe the distance will help, give us both perspective, help you figure out if what you feel for me is real or just Stockholm Syndrome. Is that what you think this is? I think you're incredibly strong and resilient, and you're making the best of a terrible situation. I think I'm falling for you more every day, which is inconvenient and probably one-sided. His honesty was devastating. And I think sending you to London is the right thing to do, even if it's the last thing I want. Zara's breath caught. You're falling for me. Did you miss that part? I thought I was being obvious. A wry smile. I'm in trouble, Zara, complete trouble. You're brilliant and fierce and you beat me at chess and somehow you haven't run screaming from my world yet. How am I supposed to not fall for you? You're a gangster who threatens people for a living. Yes. You have blood on your hands. Yes. Your family is awful. Your business is illegal, and being with you is probably going to complicate my entire life. All true, he agreed. Are you trying to talk yourself out of something? I'm trying to talk myself into being smart, into protecting myself. She finally closed the distance, letting her hand cover his. But I don't think it's working. What's not working? The part where I pretend I don't feel anything for you too. The drive back to the penthouse was quiet, charged with something unspoken. When they entered the apartment, neither of them turned on the lights. Soul's glow through the windows provided the only illumination. I should finish packing, Zara said, but she didn't move toward the bedroom. You should, Minjun agreed, but he stepped closer instead of away. My flight is at 9. I know. This is probably a bad idea. Definitely a bad idea. His hand came up to cup her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone. We have time. We don't have to rush anything. What if I want to? The words surprised her, but once they were out, she realized they were true. What if I don't want to go to London tomorrow without knowing what this is between us? Zara, her name was rough in his throat. Are you sure? I don't want you to feel obligated. I don't want this to be about duty or expectation or... She kissed him, cutting off his words. It was their first real kiss, not the chaste ceremony kiss, not the performative affection for his family, but something genuine and wanting. He froze for a heartbeat, then responded with a gentleness that made her chest ache. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Minjun rested his forehead against hers. Tell me this is what you want, he whispered. Not what you think you should do, not obligation, real want. I want this, I want you. She took his hand, leading him toward the bedroom. I want to know my husband before I leave. I want something real in all of this arrangement. Inside the bedroom, Minjun turned on a single lamp, filling the space with soft amber light. His hands were shaking slightly as he reached for her, this man who was always so controlled, now vulnerable. I've thought about this, he admitted. More than I should have, more than was probably appropriate given everything. What did you think about? Making you feel cherished, making this good for you, making sure you knew that you're not just... He stopped, struggling with words. You're not just an obligation to me, Zara. You're becoming everything, and that terrifies me. She kissed him again, softer this time. Show me what you thought about. He did, with a patience and care that made her eyes sting. Every touch was a question, every kiss a conversation. He took his time, learning her responses, paying attention to what made her gasp or sigh or pull him closer. When he removed her dress, his hands reverent on her skin, Zara felt something tight in her chest release. This wasn't the cold transaction she'd feared on their wedding night. This was intimacy, real and honest. You're beautiful, Minjun murmured against her collarbone. So beautiful it hurts to look at you sometimes. She helped him with his shirt, revealing the full extent of his tattoos. A dragon that wrapped around his ribs, characters in Hanya down his side, scars scattered among the ink like punctuation marks. "These tell stories," she said, tracing the dragon. "Violent stories, dark stories. They're part of you, I want to know all of you." She met his eyes, even the dark parts. When he laid her back on the bed, when his weight settled over her, Zara felt a moment of nervousness return. Min-jun noticed immediately, pulling back. "We can stop," he said. "We don't have to." "No, I want this, it's just—" She bit her lip, feeling foolish. That's too big." She meant the moment, the vulnerability, the enormity of choosing this with him. But understanding lit his eyes, followed by something tender. "I'll be gentle," he promised, echoing words from their wedding night. "With all of it, your heart, your trust, this. I'll be so gentle, Zara, I promise." And he was. He took his time, checking in with her, making sure she was comfortable, that she was with him. When there was pain, he soothed it with kisses and whispered reassurances. When she tensed, he waited, patient and careful. "Breathe," he murmured. I've got you, I've got you." Gradually, the discomfort faded into something else. Connection, pleasure, intimacy that went beyond physical. She clung to him, overwhelmed by the gentleness from a man capable of such violence, by the care from hands that had threatened Park just days ago. "Okay," he asked, his voice strained with control. "Yes, more than okay." She pulled him closer. "Don't hold back." "I'm always going to hold back with you," he said. "You're too important." After they lay tangled together, the sheets twisted around them, soul glittering through the windows. Min-jun traced patterns on her shoulder, his touch lazy and content. "Stay," he said quietly. "Don't go to London, stay here with me." For a moment, she was tempted. This feeling safe and wanted and chosen was intoxicating. But then she thought about her dreams, her degree, the life she'd worked so hard for. "I can't," she said. "I need this, Min-jun. I need something that's mine." He was quiet for a long moment, then kissed her temple. "I know, I had to ask, but I know." He pulled her closer. "But you're coming back, for holidays, for visits. You're coming back to me." "Yes," she promised. "I'm coming back. And we'll figure this out, whatever this is." "Whatever this is," she agreed, falling asleep in her husband's arms, feeling more hopeful about her impossible marriage than she'd thought possible. Tomorrow she'd go to London. Tomorrow she'd start building her own future. But tonight she'd chosen this, chosen him, and somehow that made all the difference. 3 months into her program at LSE, Zara was sitting in the university library when her phone buzzed with a video call from Min-jun. It was 2 a.m. in Seoul, which meant something was wrong. "Are you hurt?" she asked immediately, abandoning any pretense of studying. His face filled the screen, tired, a fresh cut above his eyebrow but smiling slightly at her concern. "I'm fine, just wanted to see you." "At 2 a.m., with blood on your face." "It's not my blood, mostly." He was in his car, the Seoul streets blurring past behind him. "Bad night, territorial dispute with a rival family, nothing I couldn't handle." "Min-jun." "I know, I should have waited until morning, but I needed." He trailed off and vulnerability crossed his face. "I needed to see that you're real, that you're okay, that you're still mine." Her heart clenched. These calls had become their lifeline, daily check-ins that sometimes lasted hours, where they talked about everything and nothing. She told him about her classes, her research, her growing friendship with a brilliant Indonesian student named Aisha. He told her about the family business, the careful steps he was taking to legitimize certain operations, the constant push and pull with his father over the family's direction. "I'm real," she said softly. "I'm okay, and I'm still yours." "How's the research coming?" "Good, really good, actually." She couldn't help the excitement in her voice. "Professor Chen thinks my proposal on antibiotic resistance in tropical diseases has real potential. She's talking about publication possibilities, maybe even funding for field research in Nigeria next summer." Pride lit up his face. "That's incredible, Zara. Send me the proposal. I want to read it." "You won't understand half the technical terms." "Then I'll learn them. I want to understand what you're passionate about." He touched his fingers to the screen as if he could reach through it. I miss you. The penthouse is too quiet without your terrible singing in the shower. My singing is not terrible. It's enthusiastic, he said diplomatically. How's London treating you otherwise? It's amazing, overwhelming, lonely sometimes. She smiled. But good, really good. I'm glad I came, Minjun. Thank you for making this possible. You made it possible. I just removed some obstacles. His expression turned serious. I need to tell you something. My father is planning a major expansion into West African markets. He wants you to come back for Christmas and help facilitate introductions with your father's contacts. Zara's stomach tightened. She'd known this was coming. It was part of why the Kim family had wanted this marriage, but she'd been hopping for more time. When? 3 weeks. I know it's earlier than we planned, but... It's fine. I have exams before the break anyway. She chewed her lip. Will I have to? I mean, how involved will I need to be? Just a few dinners, some introductions. I'll handle the actual negotiations. He paused. And Zara, you don't have to do anything you're uncomfortable with. If my father pushes too hard, I'll shut it down. Even if it costs your family business opportunities. Even then, you're my wife first, my family's asset never. After they hung up, Zara sat staring at her research notes, unable to focus. The reality of her dual life was becoming clearer. Brilliant student in London, Mafia wife in Seoul. 2 identities that shouldn't coexist but somehow had to. Her phone buzzed again. A text from Minjun. Forgot to mention, I'm having something delivered to your flat tomorrow. Early Christmas present. The next day, a delivery arrived. A state-of-the-art laptop, perfectly configured for her research needs, with a note. For all those technical terms I need to learn. M. Aisha Wolf whistled when she saw it. Girl, your husband is either very rich or very in love. Both, unfortunately, Zara muttered. Unfortunately, most people would kill for that combination. Most people aren't married to someone who actually has killed. The words slipped out before she could stop them. Aisha's eyes widened. Okay, you need to explain that statement. So Zara did, pouring out the whole story, the arranged marriage, Minjun's family business, the violence and tenderness intertwined. Aisha listened without judgment, and when Zara finished, she said simply, Do you love him? I don't know. How do you love someone who terrifies you and protects you in equal measure? The same way you love anyone, one day at a time, one choice at a time. Aisha squeezed her hand. But Zara, you need to figure it out before you go back for Christmas. Because from what you've told me, that man is completely gone for you, and you owe him honesty about where you stand. The Seoul winter hit Zara like a physical force when she stepped off the plane 3 weeks later. Minjun was waiting at arrivals, and the sight of him made her heart stutter. Tall and imposing in a black coat, his hair slightly longer than she remembered, his face lighting up when he saw her. You're here, he said, pulling her into his arms right there in the terminal. You're actually here. Did you think I wouldn't come back? I worried. Every day I worried you'd realize you were better off without me. He pulled back to look at her face, his hands cradling her cheeks. You look good, happy. London suits you. I missed you too, she admitted. The penthouse felt different, more like home than she expected. Minjun had kept fresh flowers in every room, had stocked her favorite foods, had even framed one of her research papers and hung it in the study. That's incredibly dorky, she said, fighting a smile. I'm proud of you. I'm allowed to be dorky about it. He set down her luggage. I have bad news and worse news. Which do you want first? How about some good news instead? Good news. I've been working on transitioning 2 of our nightclub operations into legitimate businesses. Legal, taxed, no protection rackets. It's slow, but it's progress. Her eyes widened. Minjun, that's amazing. Why didn't you tell me? Because it might not work. My father is fighting me on every step, but I'm trying, Zara, trying to build something you won't be ashamed to be part of. He ran a hand through his hair. Bad news. My father expects you at a business dinner tomorrow night. Several potential West African partners will be there. And the worst news. Jae-hoon will be there too. And he's been making comments about you, about our marriage. Nothing I can prove, but enough to make me want to break his jaw. Don't, she said quickly. Don't give him the satisfaction of getting to you. He called you my foreign experiment at a family meeting, said I'd get bored and move on to someone more suitable. Minjun's voice was ice. I had to be physically restrained from going after him. Zara stepped closer, placing her hands on his chest. I don't care what Jae-hoon thinks. I care what you think, what you feel. What I feel? He caught her hands, holding them against his heart. I feel like these 3 months have been the longest of my life. I feel like I'm drowning without you here. I feel like I made a terrible mistake sending you to London because now I know exactly what I'm missing. But you'd do it again. Send me to London. In a heartbeat, because your happiness matters more than my comfort. He kissed her palms. Because loving you means wanting you to have everything, even if it means I can't have you all the time. You love me, the words came out whispered. Completely, hopelessly, inconveniently. His smile was rueful. I'm not asking you to say it back. I know this is complicated, that you need time. She kissed him, cutting off his words. When she pulled back, she said, I love you too. I've been trying not to, trying to protect myself, but I do. I love you, Minjun Kim, and it terrifies me. Why terrifies? Because loving you means accepting all of you. The violence, the darkness, the impossible situation we're in. It means being a mafia wife even when I'm a graduate student. It means living in 2 worlds that should never intersect. We can make it work, he said fiercely. We are making it work. Are we? Or are we just postponing the inevitable crash? Instead of answering, Minjun took her hand and led her to the study. He pulled out a folder thick with documents and handed it to her. What is this? Legal documents transferring ownership of 3 Kim family businesses into legitimate corporations. Applications for proper licensing. Tax records going back 5 years that I've been secretly keeping accurate. He watched her face as she flipped through. It's not everything, and it's not fast enough, but it's a start. I'm building us an exit strategy, Zara. A way out of the darkness. Tears pricked her eyes. You're doing this for me. I'm doing it for us, for the future we might have if I can pull it off. He cupped her face. I know I can't erase my past. I know there are things I've done that you'll never fully be able to accept, but I can try to build a better future. One where you don't have to choose between loving me and respecting yourself. Your family will fight you. Let them. You're worth fighting for. The dinner the next night was exactly as awful as expected. Mr. Kim treated Zara like a useful prop, parading her in front of potential business partners, having her translate, using her connections shamelessly. Jae-hoon made subtle digs throughout the evening, comments about exotic tastes and temporary fascinations that made her skin crawl. But Minjun stayed at her side, his hand a constant presence at the small of her back, his body language screaming possession and protection. When Jae-hoon suggested that Zara looked uncomfortable in traditional settings, Minjun simply said, My wife has a PhD to finish at one of the best schools in the world. She's uncomfortable because she's brilliant and bored by mediocre company. The temperature at the table dropped 10 degrees. Jae-hoon's face flushed with anger, but Mr. Kim surprisingly laughed, a sharp, approving sound. Your wife has teeth, he said to Minjun. Good, we need people with spines in this family, not just pretty faces. It wasn't quite approval, but it was something. Later in the car home, Zara said, You didn't have to defend me like that. Yes, I did. You're mine to defend. He laced his fingers through hers. How much longer do you have on your program? 18 months, less if I finish my thesis early. And then what? Where do we go from there? I don't know, she admitted. I've been offered a research position in Lagos. There's also interest from a pharmaceutical company in London. Both are incredible opportunities. Both are far from Seoul. Yes. Minjun was quiet for a long moment. What if I came to you? Whatever you choose, Lagos, London, anywhere, what if I came with you? She stared at him. You'd leave Seoul, leave your family. I told you, I'm building an exit strategy. If I can legitimize enough of the business, if I can set up operations that don't require my physical presence, if I can break free from my father's control. He turned to face her. I'd follow you anywhere, Zara. I'd leave this all behind for you. Minjun, that's everything. Your whole life is here. My life is wherever you are. He said it simply, as if it was obvious. These 3 months showed me that. I can survive without you, but I don't want to. I don't want to be the man who only sees his wife on holidays and video calls. I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to be the person you tell about your research breakthroughs. I want to build a real life with you, not this divided existence. It could take years. Years of you working to extricate yourself from your family. Then we have years of video calls and visits. Years of you being brilliant in London while I'm handling business in Seoul. But we have an endpoint, a goal we're working toward. He kissed her knuckles. I can endure anything if I know you're waiting at the end of it. What if your family won't let you go? His expression hardened. Then I'll make them. One way or another, I'm getting us both free. They spent the rest of Zara's Christmas break in a bubble of stolen time. Dinners just the two of them, late nights talking about impossible futures, mornings wrapped around each other as if they could stop time through sheer will. Minjun introduced her to his soul, not the criminal underworld, but the art galleries and traditional tea houses, the secret spots only locals knew. This is who I could have been, he said one afternoon as they walked through Bukshan Hanok village. Without my family, without the expectations, just a guy who likes art and good food and beautiful women who are smarter than him. You still can be that person. We'll make it happen. On her last night before returning to London, they lay in bed watching snow fall over Seoul, wrapped in comfortable silence. I have something for you, Minjun said, reaching into his nightstand. He pulled out a small box. If that's an expensive necklace, I'm going to be very annoyed with you. Open it. Inside was a simple silver ring, engraved with coordinates. What are these? Latitude and longitude, the exact spot where we're lying right now, the center of our world no matter where we are physically. He took the ring and slid it onto her right hand. So you remember that you have a home here, with me, always. Zara's vision blurred with tears. I hate leaving you. I know, but you're going back to build our future, and I'm staying here to dismantle my past, and in 18 months we'll figure out the rest together. He kissed her forehead. I love you, Zara Kim, every difficult, brilliant, challenging inch of you. I love you too, my impossible, dangerous, surprisingly romantic gangster husband. Former gangster, he corrected. Future legitimate businessman and supportive spouse to a renowned research scientist. Is that what we're calling your retirement plan? That's exactly what we're calling it. At the airport the next morning, Minjun held her like he might never let go. 18 months, he whispered. We can do 18 months. We can do anything, she agreed. We're already doing the impossible, making this work. As her plane lifted off, Seoul shrinking below her, Zara twisted the ring on her finger and smiled. Their story wasn't traditional. It wasn't easy, but it was theirs, built on honesty and choice and love that had grown in the most unlikely soil. She had her research, her dreams, her future unfolding exactly as she'd hoped. And she had Minjun, working in Seoul to build them an exit, to create a life where they could be together without compromise. It wasn't the ending she'd expected when her father had told her about the arranged marriage. It was better, messier and more complicated, but real and chosen and full of possibility. Zara opened her laptop and started working on her thesis, the coordinates engraved on her ring catching the light. 18 months until they could start their real life together. Until they could stop being divided across continents and start being just themselves. A brilliant scientist and a reformed gangster, building something honest and good from the ashes of an arranged marriage. She could wait 18 months. For him, for them, for the future they were both fighting to create, she could wait forever. But she wouldn't have to, because Minjun Kim kept his promises and he'd promised her everything. The end. Please like and subscribe for more.